Just a big sigh to start episode 82 of Third and Wrong. Great timing, Zach. I'm your co-host, Stephen Bolin, and with me as always is Zachary Eeyore Foth over here with his big sigh to start the episode. Zach, your Browns won, so how are things?
Man, things are great. I'm living the dream here, and for real for once. The Browns, since last time they did this was 2001, so I'm having a great time here, Steve. And they beat the Cowboys, and the team I coach has a bunch of Cowboys fans on it, so I really got to give it to them.
There you go. And for those watching on YouTube, Ozzy, there's something strange on your head. It appears it's Third and Wrong apparel. Could you let our listeners know what's going on?
Heck yeah, we got the very first Third and Wrong merch just in the mail. You know, the stork came by and just dropped it off on the doorstep, and here we are. We've got merch, not for sale though. So hands off.
We're not there yet. Yeah,
this is mine. I'm just kidding.
Show them the other hat.
Oh yeah, you betcha. What we got?
Oh, that's smooth. Oh, that is nice.
Look at that white.
Oh, I know. It just pops.
Third and white.
Well, no. We're not. I don't know.
No, I meant like third and right, but you know, like a play on the white on the hat.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're not watching, that is very.
2020. That could be a controversial. But on the other hat.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah. Thanks for taking it there, Steve.
I don't want to be third and canceled, so we'll.
And that's the last of the merch.
Yeah, that's the first and last of our merchandise. Ozzy had to go and maybe we'll get a bunch of Trump supporters on brand if we make that our tagline. Anyways. Let's chat some football, fellas. Well, first we'll recap with our 2-minute drill once. Yeah, no good segues here. We just got to kind of grunt through this one here. It's time for our 2-minute drill for those who are first-time listeners and hopefully not last-time listeners after that. The 2-minute drills where we recap all of the past week's games, and then we dive into some of the biggest storylines that have taken place. So without further ado, Ozzy, do you have that timer ready to go?
Yeah, I'm getting it there. Yeah, we're good, Steve. We're good.
Nice. All right. Count me in, Ozzy, and we'll get going.
All right, Steve, you're on in 3, 2, 1.
Broncos win the battle of the Trevor Bowl 37-28. The Saints get by a close one 35-29 over the Patricia Lions. The Buccaneers, Tom throws 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers as they win 38-31. The Bengals squeak by the Jaguars 33-25. Joe Burrow showing his worth. And the Vikings send B.O.B. packing with a 31-23 victory.
The Seahawks had the perfect spell to overcome Fitzmagic and the Miami Dolphins. The Seahawks win 31-23. The Browns nearly browned their shorts as the Cowboys galloped from down 27 in the fourth quarter to come within 3. But the Browns stayed aggressive and scored a late touchdown that led to a 49-38 victory. A battle of my 2 favorite teams in 2020, the Cardinals and Panthers. And the Panthers defense showed up big as they shut down Kyler Murray, and the Cardinals, they win 31-21. The Ravens took it to Washington football team, and Haskins saw slight improvement, but still couldn't get over the hump against the AFC contending Ravens, 31-17 Ravens. The Giants and Rams made their best effort to put out the worst product they could muster. Rams win 17-9.
The Bills take a stranglehold on the AFC East with a big win against the Las Vegas Raiders, 30-23 Bills. The Bears' new-look offense with Nick Foles at the helm looks like a junior team against the special Colts defense, 19-11 Colts. The Eagles take it to the injured and hungover 49ers, 25-20 Eagles. Yikes, Pats fans. It's a good thing you signed Cam this offseason, hey? 26-10 Chiefs. Well, Falcons fans, at least the uniforms are nice. The Packers took a dirty deuce right on the Falcons, 30-16 Falcons.
Well done, everyone, with some punchlines to boot, too.
What was the time on that?
We actually had 10 seconds left, so pretty well done, boys.
That's nice.
That's how you drive down the field with the final 2 minutes, leave a little bit of time on the clock, but not too much for the other team to have some hope. That's exactly what we just did right
Just enough to give them hope, like the fans hope, and then you just rip their heart out when, like, they can't recover, or where they start on their own like 10-yard line and realize they have 8 seconds to go.
Mitch Trubisky throws like a deep dig route right in the middle of the field with no timeouts, and everybody's wondering why they even tried.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Zach, I got to say, I wasn't a fan of the Atlanta uniforms when I first saw them, but those all whites on primetime football under the lights there, those are nice with the black helmets and stuff. Those look tight.
Man,
so
their home uniforms are beautiful too when they're on. I like them a lot. I like them all. Yeah, the all whites were really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
All right, let's get the biggest storyline, fellas. I was looking at. Well, maybe not the biggest, but the one that caught my eye. It was Tom Brady still firing the ball around the field. 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers with the comeback to boot. Guys, is this Tom Brady's like coming out party as a Buccaneer? Like, we're still here, except the Buccaneers version of that? Or do you think this was more of a flash in the pan? And we'll go to you first, Ozzy, because you're the Tom Brady aficionado.
Well, I really, really think that you can't look at that comeback and think that this is just a flash in the pan. He's consistently gotten better as the season has gone along, from that first game where everybody was kind of like, it kind of works, but it's kind of off. And now all of a sudden 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. He's making a lot of good throws too downfield. I saw he made like a couple 30, 40-yard throws. So he's still got an arm on him for 43 years old. And to come back from down 24-7, like, I know that's kind of what we've come to get used to with Tom Brady at the helm, but he's 43 years old. So it's still fascinating to see that he's still got that in him. The Chargers were playing tough all game that first half. And the fact that all game that first half, sorry, that whole first half. And then something just clicked and Tom Brady went like 15 of 16 or 16 of 17 passes. And I think he had 4 touchdowns in the second half. So just incredible quarterbacking. And I think that we've just got to kind of take it at face value. Like, Tom Brady's still really good at 43. And this just proves that the Bucs, even though they're down pretty big in this game, I think it just shows that they're still very much a Super Bowl contender with this roster.
I'm in agreement, Ozzy. I think I like this Bucs team more than I like this Saints team, who had a very close battle against a struggling Lions team. Matt Patricia trying to throw the previous regime under the bus, saying he had a lot of work to do when he came in. That's a whole other story. But this Buccaneers team looks good. I think I picked them to win the division. I believe I did. Zach, what are your thoughts? I know we're going to the opposite end of the spectrum now. You're not exactly Tom's biggest fan, but what do you take from his 5 touchdown performance?
Yeah, let's stop riding his dick here. This is a little thing. It was a lot of fun, and all Tom Brady fans are really happy. But I really like that pick 6 that he threw early on in that game, the 4th one in six games, I think it's been. So, I think it was fun and all for throwing to 5 different receivers. It was great and beautiful, but there's struggles ahead for Brady. He's not going to look pampered and great all season here. I think there's still some growing pains that team's going to go through coming up, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he had a pick 6 in a pretty big game before, Zach, too, you might recall, against the Falcons. And so, I mean, it happens even when there's greatness still yet to come. Even the great ones, they throw some bad throws. So
that was in 2016, Ozzy. This is 4 in the last 6 games.
Yeah,
like, they're coming fast and furious, my man.
Let's twist the narrative. I mean, the one against the Titans and like the last throw of the game, that one was pretty. I think that was off a tip pass. So like, let's not forget some of these. Like, there's other circumstances too. It's not just because he's just throwing it. He's not playing catch with the other team like Nick Mullins was with Alex Singleton. Okay, so.
So are we going to call it, okay, if we take one away, 3 and 6? That's still not a good stat. That's James.
Well, I don't remember the other one. Great, with the exception of last game. I'm just saying, like, there's other circumstances surrounding these ones. Like, you look at Jarrett Stidham's last night. Jarrett Stidham's pick 6. You can't blame that on Jarrett Stidham. So I'm just saying you can't just blame the quarterback just because it's a stat.
Well, it's never Ozzy's favorite QB's fault, is it?
Well, no, like, if you look at that game, that's just facts. I don't even care what you say. That's a bad draw.
I'm sure one of them were his fault. One of them, maybe.
No, totally. They happen. I'm not saying that, but you're kind of equating it to the downfall of Tom Brady. I'm saying that just because he throws a pick six does not mean that he's washed. He did it, and then he ended up winning a Super Bowl in the same game. He can do it and still have a good game, and he can do it and still have a good season. And you're saying he did it, and it's a downfall.
I never said that actually before.
That's kind of what you're alluding to.
Right. I am alluding to it because it's been 4 and 6 games. That's a lot, Ozzy. That's not one in one Super Bowl game. That's a lot happening. A lot.
It's fair to say it's uncharacteristic of Tom.
Yes.
Like we have not seen this from him.
That's what's weird.
It's not uncharacteristic of Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterbacks.
I guess,
that's neither here nor there. It's just maybe something's in the water in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, COVID.
Oh, good. My chair's breaking again.
Great. Let's transition to Zach. I think your Browns and Cowboys game might have been the game of the week, and I wasn't able to watch it because I was glued to the Seahawks game. But just take us through like what was clicking for the Browns and in putting up 49 points there. And obviously your run game looked good. Talk about Baker, and just talk about it all, man. Because that's a really we talked about coming out parties. Like that's a big one for the Browns, man. I mean, the Cowboys don't look great this year, but you're beating a marquee team. Whether you love or hate the Cowboys, they're America's team. They're a marquee team, and that's a pretty big victory to go get in Dallas.
Yeah, man. Looking at it, well, look at who we had winning that. All of us. I'm pretty sure the odds were Cowboys to win that. What it seems like for the Browns right now, it feels like we're actually fighting. Enjoying ourselves and have a little bit of a philosophy and something to get behind now. Kevin Stefanski has looked, I'm not going to go out here and be like, oh, we're winning the Super Bowl this year, putting that kind of hype on it. We've played some, Bengals, Washington, and now the Cowboys, who haven't had the greatest defense, but putting up 49 points in the NFL against any team. And the Cowboys haven't had a great defense, but like on paper, they have a outstanding defensive team there. To go in there and put 49 points on them, it just shows that the guys are having more fun. They have an identity now running the ball, 307 yards rushing the ball. And that's with Nick Chubb going out in the first quarter. Johnson came in as our third string running back and almost ran for 100 yards on them. I think it does speak volumes to our growth. And it also, you can start to see Baker starting to throw with a little bit more confidence again with that zip that we saw in his rookie year, which we don't need him to go out and throw 300 yards every game, but the 2 touchdowns, no picks, high completion percentage performances is what we're looking for and what we need. And he's showing he's capable of it. And actually, I think the biggest surprise I can speak on here, guys, is our defense. Other than at the end, I really do feel that we fell into the trap of we were up 41-14. And we started taking the gas pedal off on defense because we were causing, Myles Garrett, he has 3 strip sacks this season and 5 total sacks in 4 games. And he has just been, our pass rush was crazy. And then it seems like the Cowboys, man, when they play from behind, they're just so much more efficient. I think maybe defense is slowing down, playing soft zone, things like that help and attribute to that. Mm-hmm. But that Odell run at the end, man, I don't know if anyone watched that live, but Brandon Sauer, a guy who listens to the pod and friends of ours, was sitting with me. I was screaming at the top of my lungs when Aldon Smith had him. Like they had him for a loss, it looks like, and Odell just squiggled on by and right down the sideline for the touchdown. It was a beautiful thing, and it felt as though the Browns had a game against a big team that finally showed, we have an identity. It's not going to be a walk in the park, and we're here to win. So it was good, man.
I saw too, Jeff Schwartz, former lineman, was tweeting about the job your line has done too, and just creating lanes for Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then even just giving that protection to Baker too. I mean, you can just see it is night and day with the confidence he's exuding behind the line of scrimmage there. And it looks like it's coming together, man. I mean, we'll keep our fingers crossed because the NFL things can turn on a dime, and Chubb might be missing a couple of weeks of time now. But Ozzy, any thoughts on that? I don't have much to add. Zach, you recap that beautifully.
Yeah, no, I was watching this game live and I was really impressed with the Browns. And I mean, the Cowboys, they are just like, they were giving up, I think, close to 10 yards a carry by the end of the game, which was insane. It might have even been over that after the Odell run, who knows? But I got to give credit to the Browns. That was so much better of an offensive showing than I even would have expected out of them. And it wasn't a shootout. And I watched a Colin clip and he was talking if Baker had to get into a shootout, he didn't trust it. But a high scoring game that showed that the Browns can get into a high scoring game without with just the run game. It was just so impressive. Such good complementary football all the way around. The defense shut down the Cowboys for much of that game. They'd gotten up to a 14-7 point lead and then didn't get another point till the fourth quarter. So that just spoke about that team and shutting down that offense of the Cowboys. Well done all the way around. And yeah, that was fun to watch. That's good football.
Only someone would slow down those GD Steelers, man, because I want to see the Browns as a wild card team.
3-1, baby. Let's go.
There we go. Baker Redemption Tour.
Man, yo, Steve, we're 3-1 here. Not just a wild card team. Let's take that damn division. And...
Ooh. Oh, you said it, not me.
Oh. Hey, let's get excited.
Oh, man. Fellas, I gotta when a team struggles in your division, you gotta celebrate a little bit. I mean, Zach, to a degree, just did that with the Ravens, falling flat on Monday Night Football last week, and now they're 3-1. I'm sure Ozzy will take any chance he can get to see the Bills, Dolphins, or Jets fail. So when the Cardinals have dropped 2 straight now against teams they should have defeated, I mean, I had this team going 9-7, and I still think that's attainable, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because especially yours, Ozzy, because I think you were a lot higher on them than Zach was. Zach might have even expected this, but what are your thoughts on the Cardinals after these last games, losing 26-23 to the Lions and then 31-21 to the Panthers without McCaffrey, mind you? 2 games that, like, if you're looking at the schedule before the season, you're probably putting up as W's for them. Is this growing pains for a young team, or is this they're not ready to be taken as serious contenders? We'll flip it over to you first, Ozzy.
Yeah, I don't think that this is too much cause for concern as of right now. We had the Panthers. We spoke about the Panthers, Steve, about how they were going to be a pesky, like, competitive 7-9 type team. And I think that this just goes to show that they've got a really good defense all the way around, the Panthers do. And the Lions as well. They can play teams tough as well when they're not choking 14-point leads against other teams. So those teams are both pesky in their own ways. They've got really good defenses. So I'm going to say I'm definitely not giving the Cardinals an out here, but I'm just saying that it's easy to see how those teams can kind of put up a fight. What's concerning certainly is the Kyler Murray leading the team in rush yards. That's not sustainable. He's not a big guy. He can't be laying the body on the line every single game like that. You've got to rely on that passing attack at some point, or you've got to get Kenyon Drake or Chase Edmonds involved more in the run game. So that's where I would like to see a little bit more improvement from this team. 10-6 for me, I think, is still more than attainable. This is definitely these are 2 of those games where it's kind of like a wake-up call. What kind of team are you going to be this year? And it could be a growing season for this team, kind of what Zach predicted. But I think that this is going to be a time where we can really see this team have that wake-up call and see who are they going to show up against. They got the Jets up next, so that's your get-right game. And how are you going to respond to 2 losses in a row? I think that they just need to spread out the ball a little bit more and not be so reliant on DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's one trap they fell into after trading for him late in the offseason, is getting a big name like that. You get excited, and they relied a lot on him in the first 2 weeks. So trying to balance out that attack a little bit more, I think, is what we're going to see as they go along. They realize that they can't just rely on Kyler and DeAndre in this one.
I see so many parallels to Seattle in this, man. Like when you mentioned them relying too much on D-Hop, well, that was Russell was forcing the ball to Jimmy Graham when we first traded for him because he's that blue chip player and you want to make sure he's happy and he's fed, right? And then also, Kyler leading the team in rushing is absolutely not sustainable. We saw Russell do that in 2017. Seattle went on to finish 9-7 and miss the playoffs. I mean, we saw Ryan Fitzpatrick lead the Dolphins in rushing last year, and I mean, that wasn't exactly a season to write home about. So I think there's a couple things they could fix here. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is a smart enough coach and can scheme enough things up where he could probably start getting the ball around to other players, depending on if he's able to scheme them open. Like Fitzgerald isn't going to burn anyone on a seam route anytime soon. He's going to have to be schemed open dependent on, the depth of routes and how that all plays out. But I think Cliff can do that. It comes down to Kyler making that decision. And it sounds like right now, based on, I haven't watched any of their full games, but it sounds like to me, he's either taking off and running with it or, targeting D-Hop, to put it in its plainest terms. So I think what they're going through right now is fixable. But I mean, if in this loaded NFC, those are two must-win games, I still see them as a wild card contender because these issues aren't insurmountable. And they're not too much to overcome, but it is concerning anyways that there's the issues you want to nip in the butt right away, in my opinion. So, exactly. Zach, you weren't so high on the Cardinals coming in. Did you expect losses like this, or were you expecting them to beat these kinds of teams and lose to the Seattles and the 49ers of the world?
No, this is actually kind of what my thing was I said 7-9, and I think that's going to be right around where they're going to fall here. I think Arizona is one of those teams that has a lot of talent on the team. It's just going to take some time for a young coach and the whole, all these talented players to come together and be playing on a consistent basis week to week. It's interesting. You guys were saying he was leading his team in rushing. It's good for all the fantasy players though who have him, eh? I think Ozzy, you have him, don't you?
I have him, yeah. So it's been good for me.
Yeah, you want to keep them up then doing that. No, definitely not sustainable. And, Cardinals are an interesting team for me. I like Kyler Murray, but it also pissed me off that people were like, Kyler Murray for MVP this year. And like his first few games he was playing and his passing wasn't actually his stats aren't off the sheet or anything. And now we're losing this. We got to slow down and let him develop a little bit before we get to that point. And that's what I was saying at the beginning of the season about the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is going to take some time to get to the point where he's going to be putting up monster yards all the time and monster touchdowns. Even with a great supporting cast around him, it's going to take some time. I've seen it firsthand, and it's not just going to be you fill up the roster with all these talented guys. You go in there the next day, and these guys are just going to attack and be a Super Bowl contender. That doesn't happen usually. I really stand by this growing pain, and I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains this year. They're going to win some big games, and everyone's going to be like, whoa, this is what we expect from them. And then they're going to go lose games that they should have circled as W's. And that's where we're going to find that inconsistency. But as they grow together, and if they, have a slower season here and they move forward with Kingsbury and they keep growing there, this could be a scary team 2 years down the line or a year down the line. It's going to take some time. I really feel that way.
Yeah, I think it might be a reality check more than anything for the fans that we're saying, Kyler for MVP or that this team would be potentially winning the division. I'm not sure. I think there's a couple even Seattle bloggers I follow that were more worried about the Cardinals than they were about the 49ers. That might be true now because of the 49ers injuries, but if you're looking at both teams healthy, I'd still say I'm more scared of the Niners than I am the Cardinals. But I mean, the Niners have a lot to overcome in their own right. So
that is hilarious that people were saying a healthy 49ers team against a healthy Cardinals. There's talent there, but people need to look at this. They got to mesh, man. They got to come together and be like, it took the 49ers 4 years to get a healthy and then meshing to the point where they were a Super Bowl contender. Everyone just look at the Browns last year. Everyone was like, wow, look at the talent on their team, but it didn't come together. We didn't have the right person there coaching them. Football's such a chemistry-based sport. You can't just throw superstars at a team and they're amazing now without, practicing a ton. It takes that time, and I stand by that.
That's fair. Shall we move on to Mr. Kind of connected, I guess, in a way. DeAndre Hopkins' former team, the man who traded him, Bill O'Brien, has been fired by the Houston Texans after an 0-4 start. I don't know. Firing him now, like, just seems, yeah, you had to do it, but like, who wants this job? You don't have your first or second round pick next year. The Dolphins own that. You're going to be inheriting a team that's very top heavy without a lot of depth. I mean, top heavy, I mean, you have your few stars, Sean Watson, JJ Watt, and I'm forgetting someone, but there's not, and Tunsil on the line. But after that, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in the depth in the secondary of this team, the offensive line. I mean, it's just, if I'm a coach, like, you know, even like Brian Schottenheimer might be getting head coaching looks, which is a complete 180 from where he was 2 years ago. But if I'm Schotty, I mean, and I'm looking at how old Pete is and how many years he has left, and then I'm looking at this dumpster fire in the Texans. Someone made a comment on Twitter, like, a coach could take this position and a GM, try to make all these changes and be fired before they even see the fruits of their labor, because you're working with no capital. I'm not sure what their cap situation looks like, but I mean, you're paying Watson a lot now, which he deserves every penny of it. I just feel like if you were going to fire Bill O'Brien, it should have been after you blew a 24-0 lead in the playoffs last year and went from there. But I digress. Go ahead, Zach.
Sorry, I read a stat on that. They have the most guys getting paid like $10 million more a year or something stupid today. So the cap space isn't even a good thing, man. I was gonna add.
Yeah, I'm at a loss right now. Like, it's okay. I don't have a lot for analysis. Like, this is just from what happened to be one of the more promising situations in 2017 when Watson's rookie year before he tore his ACL, and now you're just looking at this team like, where to even start?
I heard that the move was more just kind of culture related. I guess there was obviously a lot of tension in the locker room. You could speculate whether that's because he literally traded one of their best offensive pieces for a bag of chips and a used condom. But Zach froze. I thought he was out.
Oh, man.
So I think everybody felt that throughout the organization, and you see that. And you have a right to be frustrated, right? So I would be, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at that trade and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that was my number one target, and you're going to get rid of him and give me David Johnson. Like, do I want a running game or do I want my number one receiver? I don't know. We made do with Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson, right? So it
goes so much deeper than that, though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The Clowney trade.
Yeah. You're like, what are you doing? You're trading off all these stars on the team, guys that you build a Super Bowl team with, and you're trading them away for what? So I don't know.
We found out used car.
I like, you can even look back to Dwayne Brown way back in 2017 when they traded him to Seattle. I think he just wanted like a little bit extra raise, and sure, he's older, and I love Tunsil. Like, I think that's great, but you could have just extended or restructured Dwayne Brown's contract, saved your 2 picks, and saved millions of dollars, because what they gave to Tunsil, I think, made him the highest paid left tackle at the time, or might still be. Yeah. I mean, this roster's been totally mismanaged top down, and I mean, everyone likes to point to the Hopkins trade, but like, it goes 3 years back of how mismanaged this roster's been. Like, it's awful.
Yeah. With what Tunsil's getting now, I think he's getting $22 or $24 million or something. If you would have bumped up Dwayne Brown's contract, you probably would have only been paying like 14 or 16 million. Like,
yeah,
that's massive savings when you think of like a 3-year contract or whatever. Oh.
Hey, they get Deshaun Watson though, whatever coach goes. Okay.
So exactly,
some optimism there. And, even thinking back at it, and Steve, it hit me when you said it, when you're like, they traded pretty much Hopkins for Johnson. I'm like, in a league that's literally went pass heavy with like one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, let's focus completely on the run. Now that, as Ozzy said, was serviceable with the 2 running backs they had before.
Hyde was a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. And Hyde's Good. Like I'm so happy the Seahawks got him. Now we're gonna go off on Hyde here. But man, he was with the Browns there. He scored like 5 touchdowns in 3 games. Like the guy can play ball. And David Johnson's just been like consistently falling off. It's like I don't understand.
Trade the best receiver in the game for this guy who's declining. Perfect.
It's I don't know. It's really hard to be the GM and a coach, and like Bill Belichick can do that, but like we say with everything Patriots related, they're the exception, not the rule. So it's like, I'm not sure why they gave Bill O'Brien all this power, but it certainly wasn't warranted. And I think he's going to have a tough time landing on his feet as well. I mean, I guess he wasn't exactly the most well-liked, like you alluded to, Ozzy, but I guess I read on Twitter, which take it for what it is, it's Twitter. But when he fired people, it was like, get the fuck out of the building and hand your stuff in right away. Like just the most like blunt way you can fire someone. And so like, he just kind of like that alpha asshole.
Hopefully that's how he got let go.
Yeah. He kind of looks like an asshole.
If that's true, then he deserves it. If not, then maybe not.
He kind of looks like an asshole. Let's be real.
Yeah, we should rank head coaches that are fired this year and just rank them on like how much they look like an asshole, and then we can decide if whether we feel bad for them or not.
He kind of looks like a real life Peter Griffin.
Yeah, man. Man. Never smiled, man. Like, no, you need some happiness in that locker room now. Maybe just
even Bill smiles, man. He's in Subway commercials. Like
his little smile. Oh man, it's so good.
Oh, it's so cute.
I thought, that's what Ozzy was gonna say. Thank you, Steve.
No, it's just so funny. He's such a stern man. Just like...
Right. All right.
I love it. All right, let's get.
Right?
Let's before we go to the next, let's just rank all 32 coaches on their smile.
Kevin Stefanski, number 1. What a beautiful man.
Andy Reid when he smiles because his mustache like frivels a little bit. Pete Carroll has a nice smile. I'm biased though.
I was kidding, but I guess we're going into this.
Kyle Shanahan, like when Kyle Shanahan wears those flat brimmed hats, I want to punch him in the face because like he's in his like mid-30s.
Some people can pull it off.
40s.
Like if you're in the rigs, you can pull it off. But if you're not, then you just keep the flat brim at home.
Man, Kyle Shanahan's a good-looking dude too. Like,
he doesn't need the flat brim hat.
He doesn't need flat brim. He probably keeps a sticker on it.
When you do eventually get a third and wrong hat, you have to take the sticker off. No sticker.
Do you remember in like grade 8 or 9 the kids who would keep the sticker on it?
I'm a size 7 1/4.
You think that's cool? Look how shiny this is.
Speaking of a quarter, Ozzy. Well, watch this segue, guys. We're a quarter away through the regular season, and you see that? Yeah. Damn, I kind of wanted to keep going down the rabbit hole of ranking coaches' smiles, but we'll save that for another episode. We'll save that for an off season. Or next episode. Fellas, we're a quarter away through the NFL regular season, which it always goes by so fast once it's here, like all the anticipation, like over August and stuff. And then it's here and it's like, all right, we're already like 3-1, 4-0, or 2-2. And it's like, holy crap. So fired out a message to send in some hot takes, and we got some great ones here, some predictions for the rest of the season. So we'll start with our friend of the pod, Robert Anderson, our local Bills fan here. And he says Justin Herbert takes the Chargers to the playoffs. That's tough. What's their record right now? 1-3?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be I like Herbert. I picked him up in my dynasty league. I think he's gonna be like, I was so wrong on him in the draft, and I just think like he's gonna be a really great player. I just don't know if they have the guns to get there. But long term I like this team, Robert. But as far as taking this team to the playoffs in 2020, I have to disagree. Zach, your thoughts on this Chargers team?
Man, I couldn't say it better, Steve. You said exactly what I wanted to say. Herbert, since he's been in there, has proved me wrong. I didn't rank him super high in my rankings, but he showed great mechanics, great poise, and man, I'm excited for what the Chargers have in the future. It just sucks they're in the AFC and the Browns will knock them out. But like, if there's that 7th wild card spot, but yeah, no, I like what Herbert's showing. I just don't think this is the year yet.
Ozzy?
Yeah, I think that it's really tough. I was just looking at the standings here, and I don't know who you got missing the playoffs if the Chargers are going to go in there. You've got the Bills at 4-0 leading that one. The Chiefs will make it. The Steelers more than likely. The Ravens definitely. The Browns would take up a wild card, and then you've got the Titans and Colts. So that's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams right there, and that's not. I like those teams so much more than the Chargers at 1-3 right now. Obviously, that's easy to say, but I do like what I've seen from Justin Herbert. That's not to take away from him at all. That battle in Tampa Bay, I thought that was a really, really good showing from him. It just sucks that they kind of had that little collapse at the end. I think that's growth in this league, though. If you're going to be asked to be a starter in your first year, that's a lot to ask and a lot to overcome as a rookie. So especially without a preseason and kind of getting your bearings underneath you there. So I like the hope, Robert, but I don't like this take.
I think we also have to consider, like, I think Tyrod might get his job back considering the circumstances as to why he's been injured. And I think he's not fully healthy from his punctured lung from that, painkiller injection. So I think based on principle alone, because we didn't have this information as when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, because we said I'd probably all said we'd ride with Herbert, but based on the fact that it's the Chargers team doctor's fault, I think on principle alone, you almost have to be like, hey, Tyrod, it's yours until you lose it again. But it's just really awkward territory with that.
It is. How do you walk that line?
Yeah. Damn.
All right, Finman's food review. Chris Finley, one of our favorites. He's helped us out with some food takes. He talked me through eating 50 chicken nuggets, to which I got 35 and a half way through. And he's shouted us out a couple times. We shout him out. He's a good guy. Be sure to check out his page, Finman's Food Reviews. He says the Hawks will win the Super Bowl. So, okay, well, that's I just hyped him up, and then he gave us a take I like. No, but for real, go follow him. Not just for his takes, but yeah, man, you know what? The Seahawks, this started 4-0 for the first time since 2013, the last time they won the Super Bowl. I really like the makeup of this team. The defense looked better this week, mind you, it was against Fitzpatrick, and they still didn't look great, but that was also without Jordan Brooks and Jamal Adams and Quinton Dunbar. So a lot of work needs to be done on this defense, but Russ keeps cooking, and the rest of this offense looks really good. The O-line is grading out like the best they've been in years, and we have a good cycle and movement in the running back, and our receiving core looks great, and Josh Gordon can still come back. I think the Hawks will win the Super Bowl this year, guys. I knock on wood, though. Zach, your thoughts on this take?
Yeah, man. The way Russ is cooking right now, as everyone's saying, I love Russ. I think in Russ we trust for potentially winning the Super Bowl this year. They just need to figure out that defense if they want to actually get to the Super Bowl and be a contender. That defense needs to figure their shit out now.
Snacks Harrison was in for a visit, so it might be some interior pass rush coming in, but we'll see.
Good. Well, I was even hearing, I think you even mentioned like a few weeks ago, they were talking to like Clay Matthews and stuff, like any kind of help. Like, I think that,
but I like that.
Right. Anything like, a guy, nobody you bring in at this point is going to bring you 10 sacks, just something like with Bruce Irvin going out and stuff. You guys need something on the side just to bring some pressure on, especially against the good teams. Like with Russ, you could probably, playing at his best, he'll get above 30 points. You just got to make sure that your defense is putting at least a little bit of pressure on, like, once you get to the playoffs, those opposing good quarterbacks that you're going to see. So if you guys can get cooking a bit on the other side too, like if Russ could like take one of his little frying pans and just like put it over on the defensive. Yeah. And then the defense can start cooking just a little bit over there.
Just get the
you guys have a shot. Yeah.
Kind of be like a sous chef.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. That was supposed to be Jamal Adams, but now he hurt his groin while cooking. So,
hey, they played better with him out. So
yeah, exactly. Keep him out.
I'd rather not. Ozzy, your thoughts on this take? Do you think the Hawks have the best shot of the NFC to win the Super Bowl?
As of right now, I guess I can't say otherwise. They've just shown too much, and I mean, even though it's against Fitzpatrick, the defense showing up and showing a little bit of potential on what can be. I really like what the Seahawks have going on. I'd love to disagree with you guys here just for just to keep things interesting, but I really can't. I just think about if a team from the AFC made it to the Super Bowl and you've got Russ cooking like this, I mean, it's hard to stop that man. Like I got to watch it in week 2, just how he was so excellent at ball placement and everything. Like you could play tight defense and you could play really good defense and he'll still dice you up. The Patriots are still one of the top defenses in the league, and Russ made it look so easy. So I just think if any team that with a good defense makes it to the Super Bowl, it's tough to stop Russ. And as of right now, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. Jasper agrees.
Yes. You even got to see Mahomes go up against that defense, and he didn't look as great as even
he looked
Russ
very
did.
pedestrian.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Not often you hear Mahomes and pedestrian in the same sentence, but kind of speaking of Mahomes, we got Devon Harnack, our friend here, saying Aaron Rodgers delivers an MVP-worthy season and wins the Super Bowl. So I kind of wanted to transition it this way. How would you rank your MVP leaders right now? Rodgers looks like he's turned back the clock and he's playing lights out football himself. Right now I'd probably say Russ, Rodgers, and Mahomes. Zach, how would you rank, the MVP-worthy quarterbacks right now?
Going Russ, and then alrighty, sorry for the technical difficulty there, guys. So I'm going to start with Russell Wilson as my number 1 MVP. He's my front runner big time. Then after that, I have 2A and 2B, and that's I'm going with Allen. And who the heck were we talking? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is my A, and then Allen is my B, and then Patrick Mahomes is my 4 right now. I think Aaron Rodgers is playing out of this world, and that defense has improved, and that run game has improved, and he is doing it with nobody. Everyone's been injured for him. This Packers team is looking a lot different than last year, and I'm loving it. But that's how I would rank my top 4 right now.
Yeah, I forgot about Allen, but I'd probably go. You make a good point. I'd probably go Russ, Rodgers, Allen, Mahomes as well. Mm-hmm. Which, God, it seems weird putting Mahomes at that low, but I mean that Patriots game like that was kind of a comeback down to earth game for him. Ozzy, how would you rank him?
I was actually going to go Russ, of course, and then Josh Allen. But then Zach's mention about how Rodgers has been doing it with nobody. And I think about how the MVP is a little bit more narrative driven. I think that if that was a headline, and I think that would be like he's been doing it without his star receiver, and that alone would be enough, but let alone the guys that he's been playing with, and he's still putting up the numbers that he's putting up. I think I have to go with Rodgers just out of realistic what I think would actually happen for the MVP race. But Josh Allen, I think that he is definitely in that mix. And with how electric that Bills offense has been, I don't know. I think that they could catch lightning in a bottle and make enough noise that Josh Allen starts to get into that MVP conversation a little bit more and a little bit more as the season goes on. And you start to see some real competition there. As of right now, it's Russ, and there's not even a question about it. But I think that Josh Allen has just taken that next step in his 3rd year, and he is really showing out. And we can say what we will about Rodgers. He has been playing very well as well. I'm not taking anything away. But I just think Josh Allen, with what he can do in the run game and what he's been doing in the pass game and that improvement, that is I'm putting him back in the second. Heck, I talked myself into it on the live on the pod. We're going Josh Allen second and then Rodgers.
It's nice. As far as winning the Super Bowl, I have to disagree. Harnack, I just said in the previous take that the Hawks will be winning the Super Bowl, but appreciate you putting in the take anyways. All right, let's move on to Lash. He says Josh Allen rivals Russ for the MVP. So we just talked about that. I think the only problem with Josh Allen is, like you said, it's narrative driven, right? So he's tucked away up in Buffalo there, and he has a strong defense, and he has quite a few weapons surrounding him. I feel like he doesn't have that storyline quite yet to be able to support him for an MVP race, even though the stats might fully back him up by the end of the year. Who knows? But I think he is going to be in the conversation till at least past the halfway mark of the season before, someone pulls away. Do you guys think, how long do you think Allen's candidacy for an MVP season goes? We'll go back to you right away, Ozzy.
I think it really depends. Like you said, being tucked away in Buffalo there, it's going to be tough to try to get that same energy that everybody in football has been having for Russ for MVP, especially because Russ hasn't received an MVP vote. I think there's even more people on that train for that reason. And rightfully so for as of right now, as I mentioned. But Josh Allen, how it pertains to him, I think it really depends on how the Bills actually do. If the Bills can stay, what are they, 4-0 right now?
Correct.
Yeah, so if they can stay undefeated for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then maybe even further down the line, that's a big ask. But I think it's going to take something like that for the Bills to really be on notice and for Josh Allen to start to get into that narrative, because as we mentioned, or as I just said earlier, Russ is being really hyped up right now by everybody in football and the football media. So this is something that the Bills are really going to have to kind of show everybody, we are contending for the Super Bowl. Our quarterback is leading the way here. And he definitely deserves MVP, and it's going to be in their record, because that's what people will look at and be like, oh, the Bills are actually doing pretty good. Oh, why is that? Oh, Josh Allen.
Gotcha. Zach, your thoughts on Allen? How long will his candidacy run to the end of the season, to where it's a flip of a coin between him, Russ, or Rodgers, or do you think it flames out by week 8, 9, 10?
Man, you see a lot of quarterbacks like this have these seasons where it's like a breakout season, like Carson Wentz, his MVP season, and then, he didn't win MVP, but he was going there. Carr had the 1 year in 2016. And the one thing that did end those seasons were injuries. And I'm not saying I want anything like that to happen to Allen, but I think he's going to build on this momentum is kind of what I'm saying, and continue it through the season unless an injury knocks him off. I think he's always going to kind of be hinging on that. Man, I can't believe he's completed 70% of his passes so far. I'm one of the big people who's been against Josh Allen being a competent thrower, and he's proven me wrong, which is really cool actually, because Josh Allen's a pretty cool guy. If you ever seen an interview or something with him, you kind of root for him under your, under my Browns hat. I'm kind of going, you give her there. It's happening. And I think, if he rides this momentum and they keep going, he could keep, I think if Russ keeps cooking, he's going to stay back outside of the first overall in MVP. It's just the season for Russ. It already feels like that narrative's there. So it's going to be hard for him to overcome. But if he continues and throws 50 touchdowns, man, that would suck for all you Seahawks fans.
Yeah.
Taking that from him. But I don't know. I think it's all going to flame out kind of like last year did when Lamar started taking over from Russ there. I think Russ is going to continue this kind of heroic, destructive season of just destroying defenses. And he's going to kind of it's going to be Russ and then everyone else kind of thing. And Allen's going to be part of that, everyone else, by the last 6 weeks kind of thing.
Cool. Well, I hope for Russ's sake that's true. And last fan submission, Logan Godecki, friend of the pod, says Buffalo will be a hot contender for the Super Bowl. So we look at the team as a whole now, 4-0. This is interesting, guys, because the AFC, could I see them going into Kansas City and winning? If you asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have said no. But if we're talking AFC Championship, I'd give them as good a shot as any. I mean, Baltimore, I'd say I'd probably pick them to beat Baltimore in the playoffs if there is a game tomorrow. I really don't believe in Baltimore in these big games. I was crucified on Twitter for that 2 weeks ago. I don't care. They need to prove to me that they're an elite team that can show up for those big games and be trusted to make a deep playoff run, and they haven't done that. Yeah, I agree with this one, Logan. Buffalo will be a hot contender for the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC conference. We'll go to you, Ozzy, because you're going up against your Patriots. What do you?
Well, it is really, really sad boy hours for the Patriots in the AFC East. I still fully believe in them, especially after last night's game. But the Bills are very exciting, and they have not the greatest defense, not that what we've seen in the past, but their offense is taking those next steps. And so I think that they definitely do have what it takes. I need to see more from this defense, though. If you're going to be able to stop a team like the Chiefs, a team like the Ravens, can you do that as a team that's kind of up and coming? I would love to see that. I don't know when those matchups are, but we do need to see that from the Bills before I kind of put them into that tier. And yeah, I guess I'd just kind of put it there. That would be, I still think it's the Chiefs, the Ravens, even the Patriots, the Steelers. Those are those teams that are kind of in that top tier as of right now. The Bills are still kind of looking in.
Ooh. And Zach, your thoughts on Bills being taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, man. If we're taking the regular season so far as the be-all, end-all with that, yeah, I could see it. But I think, Ozzy, I was going to really allude to the defense too. But another thing as well is we're seeing Allen play at this high level, but it's another thing to take that into the playoffs and play at that high level against that caliber of team, 3 or 4 weeks straight against that top competition to go and win a Super Bowl. I think that's the next step we need to see from Josh Allen, which I think would be tough. But, he's got to take that next step. I think we do have to consider them, to this point, a Super Bowl contender with the way he's playing. That offense is hitting on all cylinders at every different level. You have to look at them like that, and potentially a first seed right now. But, they could definitely cool off too with how things are playing out as well.
Well, it's interesting. I'm really excited to see how they finish out this season. And thank you all for submitting your takes. Even if we're not asking for them, send them in anyways. We love to put it out there and, spark some great discussion. So surprisingly enough, we have some news on Canadian Corner. So Ozzy, we don't have the soundboard anymore, but if we don't want to make the awkward geese sound. There we go. Some exciting news, actually. Football Canada announces a 2-part Canadian Football Summit bringing together the CFL, the Canadian Junior Football League, CJFL, USports, and leadership from Canada West, the OUA, RSEQ, and the AUS, all these different collegiate football divisions across Canada. And, of course, Football Canada being the managing kind of head of this, bringing them all together on discussing how to grow the game. Diversify who's playing the game, talking about women's flag and women's tackle football, getting a pipeline from the grassroots level up through the high school to the universities, right through to the pros even, and just, growing the game organically. And I mean, I think I'm not saying we were ahead of the curve on this. I believe a lot of people had the same thought, but that's what we've been pretty much preaching when this discussions come up on this podcast, is getting a steady pipeline of growing the grassroots level up through and having that connectivity to the CFL. And I believe, Jabari Arthur, when we had him on over a year ago, said the same thing. And Ryan Shahan said the same thing about, he commended the coaches who are already working at the grassroots level, but it's another thing to have, CFL players in the community actively working on these things. And even if you got college players, and, Connor McGough has been a really big advocate for that. He's back in his hometown Medicine Hat helping out as well. So I think this is fantastic news. And I can just even personally say from my coaching experience, I've been lucky enough to coach with Kamar Jordan of the Calgary Stampeders. And these kids just they soak everything up that he says, and hope to have him on here so we can talk about that. They don't listen to me, man. When KJ talks, they're all ears, because it's a CFL receiver talking to you, and it's big time. He's played in Grey Cups. It's really cool to see that. And I'm sure that's the same across all the teams that are playing in this 7-on-7 league I'm a part of. And I can only imagine the impact Connor's having back home in Medicine Hat. And those are just small instances. So if you can get a main head like the CFL and Football Canada working in conjunction with one another, not to mention the CJFL, who we've had friends playing like Logan Wall and Bryce Wallace, up to USports with the Calgary Dinos, speaking of Connor McGough. I mean, the possibilities are endless. This seems long overdue, but I'm glad it's happening. So I was I just wanted to get that off the old chest, because it is really exciting news to see that. And we hopefully will have more news on that later in the month when the meetings have actually taken place. Maybe we can snag a few influential interviews that they can elaborate on what they discussed. Any thoughts on this, guys? I know I kind of just rambled there, but it's pretty exciting.
I'd love to add to what you said, Steve, but you really took all of it. But
I was gonna say, I'm like, Steve, you hit that right on the head, man. It was perfect.
He hit the nail on the head, and then he just kept hammering. He was like, I'm gonna get it in there.
Just split the one. Yeah.
I just gotta say, I think you're 100% right, Steve. If you're building a positive pipeline with no like in between moments where it's right from the grassroots when they're young, up going step by step, and everything just flows a little bit better, it's going to help the game 100%. And I'm so for it, and I hope we're a part of it, man. It's so exciting. Man.
We've seen the States do it for years and years and years, and that's, I think, what's built such an empire that is the NFL, because you've got all these players and families that are stakeholders in the NFL because they have potential to get there one day. And same thing with college ball. That's why it's so popular. And I would say, so I think that if we can get a really solid foundation there, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of people working on this and just reinforcing this kind of effort. But we've seen it south of the border, how impactful it is and how football really has become a cultural point in U.S. culture. So I think that this is massive first step, and this is just what we need to grow this game.
Because you're totally right, Oz. You even think about, like, if you're a player and you have USports athlete come down, say he's from Guelph, University of Guelph, and he's talking at your camp, and you find yourself at the University of Guelph, your football playing days are behind you. At a minimum, man, like if I'm that kid and I'm attending the University of Guelph, 10 years later or whatever, I'm going to catch a few games. Like I want to see if, Coach Shahan, who came to my camp, is still coaching there, and so like at the minimum, you're putting butts in the stands, and then you create like that college culture, which, US fans go crazy about. Here it's, we don't get a lot of fans to our collegiate games. You could almost get an atmosphere that rivals probably junior hockey in this country if you start investing into the grassroots now. I mean, you won't see the fruits of this labor for 10 to 20 years, but I mean, we probably should have started this 10 to 20 years ago. I'm not pointing any fingers. I mean, I'm only 24. We all just kind of started this thing, but I'm glad to see the first step being taken. Long story short. So yeah. In other news, Alex Singleton scooped up a pick six, former Stampeder, and this was a really cool moment on Twitter. We just saw like the whole CFL community with all the turmoil and all the crap going on with the season being canceled and people pointing fingers. Everyone just kind of rallied behind Alex Singleton, making a big impact on that Eagles game as they went on to win that game. So shout out to Nick Mullins for throwing that one, and Alex Singleton, congratulations. Hope to see him keep tearing it up, and it's just a really great moment to see. That was awesome.
It was such good defense by Singleton that it looked like Mullins was playing catch with him. It was just like backyard, throw the ball to good old Alex, and he'll catch it. But no, he caught it and ran the other direction, the one you don't want. So good job, Nick Mullins. That was a terrible read, but great defense by Alex Singleton. Better defense.
Man, he looked amazing out there on the NFL field. So all you people who don't think CFL players don't belong, boom! That was great, man.
He got the Zach Foth finger point. Yeah, that was heavy. That sent chills down my spine. Those listening, you're lucky.
That'll leave a hole in your chest if you look him right in the eyes when he does it. So.
Oh, it's good. Thanks, guys. I like that finger point.
Yeah. Week 5 games to watch. That concludes Canadian Corner. We hope to have more exciting news on all those developments. And if Alex Singleton keeps tearing it up, then we'll keep talking about it, man. Guys, week 5 doesn't have a lot of enticing games on the block here. I mean, last week we covered probably 5 or 6 games, and that's typical. But this week, looking through, and I found 3 big ones. So starting with Thursday Night Football, the 3-1 Buccaneers at the 3-1 Bears. We're finally going to get to see Nick Foles in his second full game as a starter. I didn't get to watch that Colts game, but just based on what transpired, it didn't look like it went too well for him. Tom Brady's coming off a 5-touchdown performance, but this Bears defense, something to be reckoned with. I'm rolling with the Buccaneers on this one. I think Tom Terrific keeps up his performances. I think this will be a shootout, though. I'm not going to sleep on Nick Foles. I'm not going to be a hater of Nick Foles. I'm happy he got the job eventually, but he got it. But I'm going to take the Bucks in a shootout, 35-31 final. Wow. Let's go to Ozzy, because I know how much you love Nick Foles.
Yeah, this is tough because I've backed Nick Foles, but Tom Brady's my guy. Mm-hmm. I think that this is I'll just cut to the chase here. I think that this is going to be one of those games where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they slip up a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a shootout, though. I don't think that this Buccaneers defense is capable of getting into those types of games all the time. I know they just had a high-scoring game against the Chargers, but I just think that this defense is pretty good. It's going to be kind of like one of those grungy games. But I think that Nick Foles can pull this one out here. Don't ask me the logic as to why I think the Bucs slip up. It just seems like one of those games where they face a little bit tougher of a team after playing a pretty tough defense that was the Chargers. And Nick Foles, he's got to get back right. The Colts are the best defense in the league right now by a lot of metrics. So I can't fault him after one poor game against the best defense in the league. That's tough. That's a tough ask for any quarterback. So against a Buccaneers team that just showed a little bit of give against the Chargers, this is perfect for Nick Foles. So I've got the Bears winning this one 24-17.
Ooh. Zach, we know how high you are on Tom Brady. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this
game. You'd actually be interested on who I have with this one. A big thing I have going here actually is I have the Bucs winning actually. So for all you guys who think I absolutely hate Tom Brady, I do. But no, I do think the Bucs are going to win this one for a few reasons. Man, it's just something since that season with Nick Foles, throwing 2 interceptions and 27 touchdowns. It just seems like he has a hard time creating a rhythm on offense in the regular season. And the biggest problem with that Bears defense, in my opinion, is that rushing game. David Montgomery can't get going on a steady pace, and it seems like he can't get into a rhythm. And it really causes a lot of problems with that run game. And you can't get Nick Foles playing off that play action and looking, any kind of RPO or anything like that he runs so well. It's not there. And then we see Nick Foles getting flustered and not in a rhythm. That's what's kind of scary for me. I do think Tom is going to come in there. It's going to be a tougher game for him against the Bears defense. However, if I have to pick the two, I'm going to pick Tom Brady, who is going to have more of a rhythm at some point in that game. And Nick Foles is going to have a hard time finding that rhythm with a lack of run game. Man, David Montgomery just needs to learn how to frickin' put the shoulders down and go and stop dancing in the backfield a bit more. And they could finally find something in that run game because he has all the talent in the world, man. But it's going to be – I feel the Bucs are going to win, and I don't think they're going to score 30 points here. I think they're going to score maybe, 24-26 to like a 20-point game by the Bears. It's just going to be that resemblance of not being able to find a rhythm on the Bears offense.
All right. So we got 2 Bucs and a Bear. Sounds like the start of a trade. All right. We got the 4-0 Bills playing the 3-0 Titans. Titans obviously getting that early bye due to their COVID outbreak. I believe they've tested negative now the last couple of days. So we're crossing our fingers every week that there's no more outbreaks. A, for the health and safety of these players, and B, for, the sake of a season. But this one's tough as well. I mean, this Bills defense is no joke. We saw the Titans go to work on that Vikings kind of weaker secondary, but they've been sticking to their game plan of running the football. I'm just not sure they can keep up with MVP candidate Josh Allen. And if he's thrown up and down the field and they get Singletary running in the backfield, I don't see any reason why the Bills will lose this game unless the Titans absolutely strip away the time of possession, which they're capable of doing. But the Bills also have a good run game to counteract that as well. I'm going to go with the Bills. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I'm going to say 24-17 for the Bills final. The Titans are still absolutely AFC contenders, but the Bills improved to 5-0. We'll go to you, Zach. Right back at you.
Yeah, this one was really hard to pick for me. And, if the Titans didn't go through this whole COVID thing and guys having to get healthy again and, all the like the investigation by the NFL to see if they're following protocol and things like that, I think I would lean actually to more towards the Titans at home. But I feel like it's actually almost going to benefit the Bills a bit more coming in like a well-oiled machine and coming in there with Allen, who's playing it on all cylinders right now, to put it up against this Titans team. And you guys know how much I like the Titans and how much I like what Tannehill's doing there and like just the recipe they cook up on that offense. But it's just, I think the Bills are just on a different level without the distraction of COVID, honestly, at this point. So, I think it could be actually a higher scoring game on this one, like 29. Oh, wow, that's a weird one. Why did I say that? 20, 28, 24, something like that in the end. But I think there's some interesting narratives to follow in this one.
Yeah, I guess I'm next.
Aussie.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I don't know why I was waiting. It's I'm falling asleep over here. But no, this one is really tough. I put a little bit more weight into the Titans suffering, kind of similar to Zach, just with the COVID issue. I don't know how much that affected the team, but I put a lot of weight into some of those players getting it. Just the time off. Yes, it could be considered kind of a bye, but at the same time, oh, did I cut out?
Sorry, guys. I don't know why it keeps kicking me out.
Oh, perfect.
You're good.
Is this thing on?
This thing's on. We're back and clear now.
All right, perfect. So, in regards to the Titans, it's kind of a bye week, but at the same time, you're not really getting that practice time in. Facilities just open up tomorrow, I think, if I'm correct on that. And so you're kind of already at a loss there. So as far as preparation goes, they had to have been kind of hitting the books really early on and or at least getting the reps in mentally. And I don't know if that's going to be enough. This Bills team is really tough to play against. And I think that this is going to be a really high scoring game, but it's going to go in the Bills' favor. So I've got it going 33-23. I guess it's not really high scoring, but pretty high scoring. So Bills are going to take this one.
All right. And the last game we wanted to cover was, Zach, you're like this America's Game of the Week, for us anyways. The Indianapolis Colts 3-1 at the 3-1 Browns. I just quickly checked Score Mobile, and it looks like the Colts are only favored by 2 points. So, I mean, it's kind of if you're a gambling man, I would take the Browns to cover the spread. It looks like this running game is, really clicking. However, this Colts defense ain't nothing to mess with either. I think this is going to be the game that Baker has to prove he can carry this team when he needs to. And, I'm not saying he's been carried by this running game, but it's obviously been a great benefactor of it, and it's helped him out. And I don't think you necessarily need the running game to go off for 300 combined yards here. You guys have already set up the reputation of being good enough at running the football that I think if you went right into the play action, you could buy Baker time based on that alone. And you don't need to be necessarily successful on the run game in the game itself to have a successful play action. I think at any point they're going to fear that busting open. And so you can have Baker benefiting off of play action, getting him out of the pocket and hitting some of those bigger targets downfield. This Colts offense, I haven't had a full chance to watch their full game, so I'm not too sure what to expect out of them. Obviously, Mac is out for the season, so they've been relying on Jonathan Taylor now to carry that run game. Phillip Rivers seems to be taking care of the football, but I think this isn't going to be a shootout by any means. This will kind of be one of those back and forth, a lot of punts because these defenses are going to come to play, but I'm not putting too much stock into how much Dallas put up on them last week. Like you said, I think that was more to do with soft zone and where they were at in that game strategy-wise and not wanting to play as aggressive. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns in this game, 23-20 final, and it's going to be just a close, grimy one all game long. Zach, it's your team. We're going to go right to you.
Good. Guys, I think we're really early in the season. This could go both ways, and I'm going to play it both ways. And I am going to play with a little bias here. And yes, I do think my Brownies are going to come out with the victory. That being said, everyone's going crazy about this Colts defense, rightfully so. In statistic reasons, yes, they look great. Now, I want to sell you on this. Do you want to hear who their opponents have been for the first 4 weeks on offense? Do you guys want to know them? Yeah. Okay.
Tell us, Zach.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Minnesota Vikings, the Jets, and the Bears with a new quarterback. Now, none of those are, I don't know about you guys, but that didn't jump off the page. The Vikings haven't been good until they found their star Jefferson here the last few games. They've been absolutely abysmal before that. The Jaguars have jaguared, and in that first game, the Jags actually beat the Indianapolis Colts. Minshew looked great against them. I say the Jets already, but do I need to say more?
No.
And like I said with the Bears, Nick Foles could not get anything going that first game. He couldn't find that rhythm that I was talking about before. I think the Browns, and now I do have to play both ways though. The Browns played the Bengals, the football club, and the Cowboys. So there wasn't like great defenses there. However, I do think that run game that we bring some balance in, it's actually going to be a tough test on the Indianapolis's defense here. It's going to, the defense is coming and playing hard and fast because they've played all these, I wouldn't say top end offenses, but now they are playing a team that could potentially have a top end offense. We are leading the league in rushing right now, and Baker has looked more competent than we've seen him. So I think the Browns have a shot here of bringing that balance in. And I've been a big non-believer in our defense this year. However, the last 2 games have really proved me wrong. When the defense was playing in meaningful minutes against the Cowboys, our D-line was getting to him, and our linebackers surprisingly have been playing amazing. And that's like our scariest group. Like if you look at our linebackers, you're like, come on, man, what are you doing in the offseason? But no, they've been playing really good. Like we had 2 interceptions, 3. Like we've had a lot of interceptions. We've had big plays in the run game.
Leading the league in turnovers.
Yeah, man. Like I've been really shocked actually with how well they've been coming around. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think it's a game where if Cleveland shows up to play at their best and the way they have been, we can expose the Colts for the competition they've been playing prior. And I hope we can do that. I hope we can turn into that team that, exposes other teams for playing crappy competition instead of being the team that we've played crappy competition. Now we're going to get shit stomped. I think we have the formula to do it. And
you cut out there, Zach. I didn't hear that end. The last.
And at home.
And at home. There we go. Ozzy, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, that was I don't even know what I can say that Zach didn't say with his, like, he was fighting himself. He was like, oh, I'm the Browns. And then he's like, oh, I'm the Colts. And then but good points nonetheless. I think that this is going to be a really, I really like what the Colts have done on defense. So I mean, they shut down some shitty teams, but if you can, like, that's what you got to do. You're dealt the hand that you're dealt, and you just got to play it as is. And they've done exactly that. They've played and they've done very well, and they're the number 1 defense in the league as a result. Even being as high as I am on Nick Foles this season, which sounds really weird coming out of my mouth after bashing the Jags signing a year ago. So I still think that, like, the Bears should have shown more than what they did against the Colts. So just that alone, I think, speaks just in my eyes that they are capable of shutting down a capable offense, like I feel like the Bears are. And I think that they have the formula to shut down the Browns' run game, or slow it down anyways, to the point that it's going to be challenging to establish those bootlegs, those play action passes for Baker. And not to say that that's exactly what he needs, but that's what this offense is. And it's going to be really challenging for him. I disagree with Steve, where Steve said it's kind of the game where Baker needs to show that he can put the game on his shoulders and carry that offense. I don't think that this is the game to put that on him. It's the number one defense in the league. I don't care who they've played as of right now. They've shown that they've dominated those teams, and 3 of those teams anyways, defensively, or shut them down. I wouldn't say dominate, but shut them down. And so that for me is kind of the turning point where I think that this is going to be pretty, like when I say a grimy game, it's going to be a defensive matchup for sure. Like Steve said, lots of punts. Because I don't think the Browns are going to give much either for Jonathan Taylor and company. That offense for the Colts hasn't been great either. I won't give them much praise there. So this, for the Colts, I have the Colts winning this one, and for them to win this one, it's going to have to be kind of an ugly defensive match. And I've got them winning this one, a bunch of field goals and then maybe a late touchdown or something like that. But 16-10 for the Colts in this one. It's going to be, it's not going to be pleasant.
Man. 10 points for the 30-plus Browns or 3 straight weeks? Come on.
I guess my point about Baker was I don't think you come in and like game plan, like completely skew from like what's worked. But like you can't do like what Seattle used to do, like where if you're running into a brick wall for the first 2.5 quarters, you keep doing it. Like at some point, if the Colts have absolutely erased the running game, you're going to have to start deploying Baker. But I probably should have just phrased that better. But yeah, I think it might be one of those games where like if the run game gets shut down, then he's going to have to prove he can drag this team to a finish line. But that's all I was trying to say.
Fair enough. I think this year as a whole is on Baker, but yeah, I was just disagreeing that you put one game on him, because last week I saw Colin was like, well, this is the week that he's going to have to maybe overcome getting in a shootout or something like that.
Right.
And this week it's always got to carry the team. No, just this year, Baker's got to show that he's a franchise quarterback. He can do franchise quarterback things. Let's see it throughout the span of a year.
Doing?
Yeah, no, he's got to do. He definitely, he's definitely doing it for sure.
Yeah.
It's just I think this is too much pressure to put on him for one game. Maybe I'm buying in a little too much with the Colts, but I really love that defense. I talked about it in our preview show. I'm pretty sure just named all the guys that they got in the offseason. They've got a lot of star power on that team. I really like what they've got going on. Mm-hmm. They're my Super Bowl team. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, what are you going to say? Yeah. All right. Well, folks, that was a fun episode. So be sure to look for our Thursday night pick'em game. Post that usually Thursday afternoon for our picks for the Bears and Bucks, and then look for our Sunday picks Sunday morning before the 11 a.m. kickoff. 11 a.m. that being if you're in Mountain Standard Time. So be sure to follow all the amateur agency pages at the Amateur Agency. We post it on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at SteveBolin22, and you can find me on Instagram at SteveBolin_. Zach, where can the fine folks find you?
Thank you, Steve. You can find me living the dream on Twitter at Zach Foth and on Instagram at ZachFoth_.
Same as mine.
Last week, Steve got yours. He guessed yours faster than you just came back with yours. So.
Thanks, Steve.
Kind of funny.
No problem.
You rattled it off. I'm impressed.
Ozzy, where can people find you slithering around? I don't know why I said slither. You have 2 operating legs, but
thank you. Thanks for that. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AustinPaul_. Keeping it simple, keeping it real. That's awesome with a Y, not an I.
I thought you weren't going to do it for a second there. I was like, please don't go off brand. Not today.
not at episode 82.
Yeah, I know it's too late. We're almost at episode 100. We can just develop new personalities and be totally different people. Like I'll just show up with a mohawk or something.
We're going to have I don't know, what's a big brand? We're going to have like 47 sponsoring us or something like that, just some massive brand. Sweet. And like
that'd be cool.
We're just still doing Austin with a Y, not an I, and they're just like
people still can't figure it out.
Right. Yeah. This Austin Paul, like another listener whose name is Austin, changes his handle to Austin Paul but with an I, and he's just instantly stardom, and it goes instantly to stardom. He's selling our merch for us and everything, getting paid, but we're not. A sad time. That's a sad time.
Well, we will.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Oh, man. Put me to bed.
That was a dark timeline. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Good night and Godspeed.
Oh, and they're